All right, everyone, welcome to another edition of Organic Chemistry Mate Easy with Basi Jogba. And yesterday we were able to finalize everything concerning alcohols, right? Where we talked about the alcohol, saying that another name for the alcohol is also known as the alkanols, right? We also talk about the hybridization of the alcohol, also talking about their functional group, which the word OH binding with the word alkyl word group. We also talked about the classification of the alcohol, which is the word monohydric alcohol, the dihydric alcohol, the trihydric alcohol, and the polyhydric alcohol. And from there, we also move on to talk about the monohydric alcohol, where we're able to talk about the primary, the secondary, and tertiary alcohol. So you can get to find out from our video which we made before this particular video, because we are moving it sequentially. And we also talk about the phenol, right? We will say for the phenol is known as the word the benzenol. Till we talked about a lot of stuffs in our last video concerning a particular functional group, which is known as the word alcohol. And today we'll be moving on to another group, which is known as the word carbonyl compounds. So what we'll be saying here is what the carbonyl compounds. So we are saying what the carbonyl compounds. I can start to say the carbonyl compounds. I can also decide to say what the carbonyl groups. But since I've already said carbonyl compounds, let's move on with the word carbonyl compounds, right? So the carbonyl compounds, they are either called what the alkanals, right? So this carbonyl compound is divided into what two, right? So this is our carbonyl compound divided into what two, right? So they either called the word alkanals, right? So we can say what alkanals. This is our carbonyl compound, either called the word alkanals or either called the word alkanols. So we say alkanals or the word alkanols. Alkanols. So saying this, the alkanals or the word alkanols, just like we say the alcohol, right, has another name which is known as the word alkanols, right? The alkanals, another name for the alkanals is known as the word aldehydes. So we say the alkanals, also known as the word aldehydes. So open our bracket and we say what our aldehydes, right? We say our aldehyde. Then the alkanols is also known as the word ketones. What is referred as the ketone bodies is derived from what the alkanols, which is also what a type of what a carbonyl compound or a type of what a carbonyl group. So we say what ketones, right? So that is just a brief introduction of how we what it be. They are called a carbonyl compound because of the presence of the word carbonyl group. When we say carbonyl, what we are talking about is the presence of carbon, right? It's the presence of carbon. So they are called the carbonyl group because of the presence, or they are called the carbonyl compounds because of the presence of the word carbonyl group. So this is just how it is. Remember when we did for the alcohol? So this is just how it is when it comes to the carbonyl compounds. This is how it is being represented. This is how it's being represented. This is our carbonyl, right? Giving us our what? Our double bond of what O, right? So this is our carbonyl compound or our carbonyl group. So what we simply say is our carbonyl group. It is very, very important you take note of this. Remember when we're talking about the alcohols, right? When we're talking about the alcohol, we simply say that the alcohol is like this, right? This is what we did for the alcohol. But you get to find out that for the carbonyl compounds, there's nothing like alkyl group in it, right? For the carbonyl compound, there's nothing like what an alkyl group in it, right? That is what a carbonyl group, right? So there's a carbonyl group. This is basically the carbonyl group. Now, what you are seeing here is this. Remember, we said it is into two, right? So this carbonyl group will either tell us whether they are the what alkanals, and here will either tell us whether they are what the alkanols. You understand? So that's why you get to see two angle or two lines coming what up. So we are going to talk about, or I'm going to tell you, when you get to know, okay, this belongs to the word the alkanals, or this belongs to the word alkanols, which I can decide to call the name what the aldehydes or the word ketones. So let's get to represent them. So when we are going to know which one belongs to the word the alkanals or the word which one belongs to the word alkanols, right? So it says when they are bounded by one alkyl group. Pay attention. When they are bounded by one alkyl group. Now this is where we are bringing the alkyl group, right? Because here there was no alkyl group. So now we are going to bring in the alkyl group in our setting. Now pay attention. It says when they are bounded by one alkyl group and one hydrogen, it gives what an alkanal. So basically, let me clean this. Let's face them squarely. So let me clean this, right? And we are also going to have our carbonyl group, which we already have. We say our C, right, being bounded by our O, and we have our line, and we have our line. It says when they are bounded by one alkyl group and one hydrogen, it gives what an alkanals, right? It says when they are bounded by one alkyl group and one hydrogen, it gives an alkanals. And we represent our alkyl group with an arrow, right? Just like I did for the alcohol, right? So we say one alkyl group and one hydrogen, it becomes what an alkanals. So with one word hydrogen, so this is basically what is what alkanals right, represented as what? Arrow, right? The arrow, right? The sorry, represented by the arrow CHO, the arrow CHO, right? So this is our arrow CHO, which is known as the what? Alkanals. So this is how you get to know alkanals. It is bonded by one alkyl group and one hydrogen group. The carbonyl group is bonded by what? One alkyl group and one hydrogen group. So this is what is known as what? The alkanals. And I already told you that another name for the alkanals is known as what? The aldehyde. So let's talk about the what? Alkanones. How do we know they are the alkanones? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean this, and I'm also going to clean this, still left with our carbonyl group, right? So it says when they are bounded by two alkyl group, it is known as what? Alkanones. So when it comes to alkanones, there is no hydrogen, right? So when it comes to the alkanones, there is no hydrogen. So basically what we have here is our alkyl group, and what we have here is what? Our alkyl group. So what we are going to have at this particular point in time is our what? Our arrow what? C what? O. Right, our RCO given us what? The alkanones, which is also known as what? The ketones, right? So that is just how it is. The alkanones, which is also known as the word ketones. So you can put your bracket and put the word ketones. I know why I am repeating the both name, because in some settings or in some situation you get to only be hearing about ketones. So don't be confused when someone is talking about ketones and another person is talking about what? Alkanones. They are basically what? The same thing, but just what? Different what? Name. So let's talk about the characteristics of the what? Carbonyl group, right? Remember we talked about the characteristics of the alcohol, right? So let's also talk about the characteristics of the carbonyl. So we say what? Our X6, right? Which is our characteristics, right? We say the carbonyl group number one, or the carbonyl compound number one, is sp3 hybridized. So number one, we say is what? It is what? sp3 hybridized. We have already talked about hybridization. So if you are yet to understand what is hybridization, please try to see how you can check it out and know what is what? Hybridization, which is simply the mixing or the blending of atomic orbitals to give you a new set of orbitals, which is known as what? Hybrid what? Orbitals. So say the carbonyl compound, one of their major characteristics, number one, it is that they are what? sp3 what? Hybridized. Number two is that it has 3 sigma bond and 1 pi bond. So we say what? It has what? It has 3 sigma bond, right? Remember our formula for sigma bond, right? It has 3 sigma bond and 1 what? Pi bond. And 1 pi what? Bond. Remember our formula for the pi bond, right? And 1 pi what? Bond. So this is the second characteristics of the carbonyl compound. It is sp3 hybridized. It has 3 sigma bond and 1 what? Pi bond. Take note of this. Number 3 is that it has a bond angle of 120, right? It has a bond angle. It has a bond angle of what? 120. And this is to tell you where they fall, whether it's the alkanes or the what? Alkynes. Basically know that when it is 120, right, it is now the what? Alkenes, right? The alkene, right? So it is sp3 hybridized. It has a bond angle of what? 120. The number 4 characteristics is that they are trigonal in what? Shape. So you say they are trigonal in what? Shape, right? They are trigonal in what? Shape. They are trigonal in what? Shape. Right? So these are the characteristics or the major characteristics of what? The carbonyl what? Compound. Now there's something I want to say. Remember when I was talking about there was a time I was talking about the alkenes, right? If you pay attention, there was a time I was talking about the alkenes when we're talking about the reactions of the alkene. And the major reaction of the alkenes, I see the major reaction of the alkenes is the what? Addition or reaction. And from the characteristics we're already having here, we have a bond angle of 120 and we have a trigonal shape. I already told people that what this is referring to is what? Alkenes, right? What this is referring to is what? Alkenes. So take note, carbonyl groups undergo a major type of reaction. You understand? They also undergo reactions, right? But since they are alkenes, they don't just undergo direct addition reaction, right? So what they undergo is what is known as what? The nucleophilic what? Addition what? Reaction. So what they undergo is known as what? The nucleophilic, right? The nucleophilic what? The nucleophilic what? Addition what? Reaction. Right? The nucleophilic what? Addition what? Reaction. So this is what they what? Undergo. Remember the alkenes, right? So basically alkenes undergo what? Addition or reaction. Take note, alkenes undergo addition reaction and alkanes undergo what? What's known as the substitution what? Reaction. So but for the carbonyl compounds, they undergo what's known as what? The nucleophilic what? Addition what? Reaction. please take note of this, the nucleophilic what addition what reaction. Now let's break this into two. Let's talk about the alkanals first, which is the what aldehydes, before we move on to the what alkanones, which is the what ketones. So let's clean this and see how we can be able to move so fast with that, right? So that is just it. Let's move on. So let's talk about the alkanals, right? Let's talk about the alkanals, and we'll be talking about the naming of the alkanals, which is what the nomenclature of the word alkanal. So we'll say what the nomenclature, right? Sorry, we say nomenclature, right? Nomenclature, and I already told you that another name for nomenclature is what naming. So nomenclature of what alkanals, right? The nomenclature of the word alkanals. What we are going to do now is how to name what alkanals. The moment we get to see alkanals, we will get to what name it. Remember, I told you that the alkanals is the carbonyl compound that is being bonded by one hydrogen group and what one alkyl group. So what we are going to have here is that note that the alkanals are named, the alkanals, that is the alkanals, right? The alkanals are named by replacing the word E. The alkanals are named by replacing the word E in what alkanes, right? They are named by replacing the E in alkanes. So when you remove the E in alkanes, automatically we put the AL, right? So when we put the AL here, it automatically turns to what alkanal, right? So that is how alkanes, alkanals are being what named. They are named by placing the E in alkanes with what the what A L. So that is how the alkanals are being what formed. Now, what is the general molecular formula of the word alkanals, right? Remember, I said it's the word RCHO, right? So this is the general molecular formula of the word alkanals, right? This is the general molecular formula of the alkanals here on the board. We have our CN, we have our H2N plus 1, right? And we have our word SHO, right? So this is the word alkyl group, and this is the word carbonyl, right? This is the alkyl group we're talking about, and this is the word carbonyl. I hope you understand. So this is how it goes. So now let's start giving out some names, and we're also going to talk about the simplest member of the word alkanal, right? We already know when I talk about simplest member, know that what we are going to talk about is about the methane. But at this particular time, it's no longer going to be methane, it's going to be methanol. So we are going to get right there. You understand? So let's say we have this formula on the board. Remember, I said it is alkenes, right? So when it is alkenes, it's what a double bond. Please take note, when it is alkenes, it's what a double bond. So we get this compound on the board, right? We get this compound on the board, right? This is the compound we have here on the board, right? This is our compound, and our compound, right? You get to find out that this is what a double bond, and this is what 2 carbon, right? This is what 2 carbon, right? So we are going to base our name on what the R, right? We are going to base our name on the word R, already knowing the members of the word hydrocarbons word family. The name of this compound is known as what the ethanals, right? We already know that the name of this compound 1, 2, right? It is what the ethanals. We already know that the name of this compound is the word ethanals, right? So that is just how it is. It is the word ethanals. Now, remember I say it is what alkanals or what aldehydes, right? So in situations, some people will not say ethanals, right? What they will simply say is what aldehyde. So I can simply call it what the aldehyde, right? The aldehyde, right? The aldehyde is derived from the word aldehyde, right? So that is the name for this word compound. So we'll be moving on. Let's give up another name again on the board. So let's say we have another compound on the board. Let's say we have another compound. If you love this video, please don't forget to hit on the red subscribe button, subscribe to this video, share this video to your friends so they can come here and get value on the turn or feel motivated to continue dropping videos like this. Let's say we have another compound like this on the board, right? So our CH, and we have our H here, and we have our double bond word O, right? This is a very simplistic or what a very simple word alkanal word family, right? Or alkanal word structure. This is simply what the methanol, right? This is simply what the methanol. This is simply what the methanol. And it's very, very important to note that the simplest member of the alkanal family is the word methanol. The simplest member of the word alkanal family is the word methanol. So let's move on ahead. And basically, we have a lot of names here. We have a lot of compounds, and we have a lot of compounds to give name to, right? So let's move on. So we also have another compound, because what we are talking about is nomenclature, how you'll be able to see these alkanals and what name them. You understand? That is basically what we are doing, how you can see alkanals and be able to what name them, right? So let's move on to Let's move on to the next concept, right? Let's move on to the next name which we have here. We have our C, right? We have our C and we have our C and our C. This is basically 4 carbons, right? When it is 4 carbon, it is but, right? It's butane, right? But this particular time it's not going to be butane, it's going to be butanol. So let's give the complete name where we have here. So let's give in our complete name, right? We have our O, right? We have our CH3, right? We have our CH3 and we have our what? CH what? 3, right? We have our functional group here and we have our CH3 and we have our CH3. When it comes to naming, I've been talking about this. You start counting, giving emphasis or giving respect to where there's what a functional group. So we have a functional group right here, right? So our counting starts from carbon number 1 here, carbon number 2, carbon number 3, and what carbon number 4. So what is the name of this compound? What is the name of this compound? What do you think is going to be the name of this compound? Note that this is methyl, right? Know that this is what methyl. So the name of this compound is simply going to be what 2,3 what dimethyl what butanol, right? So this is going to be what 2,3, right? So it's going to be what 2,3, right? 2,3 dimethyl, right? It's going to be 2,3 dimethyl what butanol. Am I correct? Yes, I'm correct. So this is the name 2,3 dimethyl what butanol. That is just how it's going to what be. That is the what name. So let's move on to another nomenclature where we have here. But now this particular nomenclature that was given in a condensed what structure. Remember, I already talked about what is a condensed structure. So what we have here is it was given in a condensed structure. They said we should try to break it down. Remember, I said we have 2 ways of what naming what organic what compounds, right? We have 2 structures, or we have 2 ways we can be able to represent them. We have the what condensed structures and we have the what calculate what structure. And I say the calculate structure is also known as the what skeletal what structure. So it is very, very important that you understand this word concept. So let's give it in this name in the condensed form, and it's expected of us to give it in a what calculate what structure. But I'm feeling I should give it as an assignment. But let's go. We have our CH3, right? We have our CH, right? And we have our open bracket Br, which is our bromine, right? And we have our CH2, right? And we have our CHO, right? So this is what was given to us, what is given to us in a condensed structure, and is expected of us to write it in a skeletal structure. Basically, looking at the name of this compound, let's see what we can do, whether we can be able to get this compound, right? Let's see how we can be able to get this compound. But note, the answer is already here on the board because we have our carbon being bonded by 3 hydrogen atom. Let me show you how to get it, right? We have our carbon, which is being bonded by 3 hydrogen atom. We have our carbon, which is being bonded by hydrogen atom and bromine, right? We have our carbon, right, which is being bonded by 2 hydrogen atom, and we have our carbon, right, which is being bonded by what? An hydrogen atom, which is being bonded by an hydrogen atom, and we have our double bond, which is given us what our functional word group. So let's basically represent this in a very well simplified manner. This is known as the word condensed structure, and what I'm about to do is known as the word calculate structure or the word skeletal word structure. So this is basically what is going to have here. We have our 1, 2, 3, 4, right? We have our 4 carbon atom, right? So let's give this name. Let's give it the name here. We have our C, we have our C, and we have our C, right? So this is basically the 4 carbon atom we have. So from judging from here, we have this carbon atom is being bonded by 3 hydrogen atom, right? So this carbon atom is being bonded by 3 hydrogen atoms, right? So it's being bonded by 3 hydrogen atoms, right? So here we have our carbon being bonded by 1 hydrogen atom and 1 bromine, right? So we have our hydrogen right here. Am I correct? Yes. And we have our bromine up, right? And this is our bromine. I hope you are getting to see what I am doing. So we also have our carbon, which is bonded by 2 hydrogen. So say this particular carbon is being bonded by what? 2 what? Hydrogen, right? This carbon is being bonded by 2 hydrogen. And we have our last carbon, which is being bonded by what? Hydrogen and our double bond. So what we are going to have here is what? Our hydrogen, and we have our double what? Bond. Right, so this is basically the representation of what is being given here. This is not the condensed structure, and this is known as what? The skeletal structure. So checking up what is going to be the name of this what? Compound. What is going to be the name of this compound? Knowing fully well that when it comes to what organic chemistry, emphasis is being given to where there's what a functional word group, and also respect is so given to what where there's what a substituent. So at this particular point in time, a lot of you will get confused on where the name is going to fall out from. But basically, the name of this compound, we have our carbon number 1, 2, and what 3, because respect is being given to where there's what a functional word group. So the name of this carbon, or sorry, the name of this compound is simply what 3 bromo, right? We say what 3 bromo, right? Say 3 bromo what 3-bromo what butanol, right? 3-bromo what butanol, right? So that is the name of this what compound. Note, I will have said I start counting from here, right? Because here we give the substituent the least number, but it doesn't work that way because there's what the functional what group. So since we have a functional group, we must give respect to the functional group first before giving respect to the substituent. So giving respect to the functional group first before giving respect to the substituent, we are going to start from here, right? So we are going to say 1, 2, 3, which is what 3, right? And our 3 we are following with what bromo, right? Which is bromine, right? So we say what 3 bromo what 1, 2, 3, 4 butanol. So that is just the nomenclature when it comes to the word alkanals, and that is how you can be able to name your word alkanals. So now let's move on. Remember what I said? I said the simplest member of the alkanals is the word methanol. So that is just it when it comes to the word alkanal. All right. So basically, we are done with the word alkanals, which is known as the word aldehydes. And what we are going to talk about right now is the nomenclature of the word alkanols, which is also known as the word ketones, right? So basically, we are going to clean everything about the word alkanals, which we were doing, and we are going to focus on the nomenclature of the word alkanols. So remember, we said the nomenclature of the alkanols, right? The alkanols represented by what 2 word alkyl group, right? The alkyl, the arrow, and the word the C, and the double bond, which is the word O, right? So basically, this is what I am talking about. Remember, I say we have something like this, right? We have something like this. So basically, the alkanols, right, is being bonded by what the arrow and the word arrow, right? So this is just how it is being what represented. It can also be represented this way. So this is the first way I can decide to represent it. I can also decide to represent it this way, where we say our C and our word arrow and our double bond word O. Emphasis on 2 word alkyl, which is bonding the word carbon, right? So that is just how it is. Now note, the simplest member of the alkanols is not the methanol. I don't think there's anything like methanol. You understand? So pay attention. The simplest member of the alkanols is known as the propanone, right? So the simplest member of the alkanols here is also known as the word propanone. The simplest member of the word alkanols is also known as the word propanone. Now, what is another name for what? The propanone, right? You understand? Another name for propane. You understand? Another name for the propanol, which is the word propane, right? It's simply known as what? The acetone. The acetone, right? It's simply known as the word acetone, right? Take note. Another name for alkanones, sorry. Another name for alkanones is the word ketones, right? The simplest member in the family of the alkanones is the word propanone, right? The propanone is even derived from what propane, right? So another name for the propane is known as what the acetone. It is very, very important that you understand what this. So let's move on to the nomenclature in details. So we have a lot of nomenclatures here. We have a lot of nomenclatures in which we are supposed to I think we are supposed to name, right? We have some compounds, or we have some structures we are supposed to give their name, which is the word nomenclature. So let's start up with the first compound we have here on the board. Let's start up with the first compound we have here on the board, which is our word. We have our CH3, right? We have our CH3. We have our CH, right? Going down branches, right? A branch chain giving us what? Our CH3, right? Moving on, also giving us another carbon, right? We have another. All right. We also have our CH, right? We also have our CH branching down to give us our propane, right? And we have our what? CH what? O. You understand? So this is basically the structure that was given to us, and we say, okay, they say name it. Understand? It is very important that we would name it. Basically, your exams is going to be what? CBT, right? So you will not be given the name for you to write. So it is either the structure will be given to you for you to name it. You understand? So you are going to see options like A, 2-bromo, and so for understand. So you are just going to be seeing the name. It is now left for you to give the correct word name, right? So let's see how we can be able to name this compound. Remember, there's nothing much here for us to name. Understand? The answer is already there on the board, because if we want to start, look at where our functional group is located, right? This is where our alkanones is being located, right? So if our alkanones is being located, we have our bromine, right? So this is where our bromine falls. It falls our carbon number 2, right? So let's see how we can get it. But before then, let's know the total number of carbons that we have here. We have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, so we have our 6 carbon, and we know that 6 carbon is what? Hexane, right? We know that 6 carbon is what? Hexane. So let's see how we are going to get the name of this compound. Right now, our hexane one side. This is also what? Methyl, right? This is methyl being branched down. This is CH3, which is what? Methyl. Take note of this what? Substituents that are here. We have our bromine, we have our methyl, we have our functional group. So let's see how we are going to name from our what? Right to our what? Left. So let's see how we start the name. So we say what? 2 bromo, right? Our name says 2-bromo, right? 2-bromo. Take note, we first of all tackle the substituent, right? So we have 2-bromo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So say 2-bromo, 5-methyl, right? 2-bromo, 5-methyl. We have our 2-bromo, 5-methyl, right? So there's basically no other substituents that is here, right? There's basically no other substituent that is here, if I'm correct. Yes, we have our methyl, we have our bromine, we have our bromine, we have our methyl, which is what? Complete, right? So we have 2-bromo, 5-methyl. We have to fall in now to the parent name. The parent name is what? Hex, right? Which is hexane. So we say 2-bromo, 5-methyl hex, right? So 2. Let me check out something. All right. So we have 2-bromo, right? 5-methyl hex what? Carbon, our double bond is falling our carbon number 3, right? Say what? Hex what? 3 what? Enal. X3 what? Enal. So that is basically the name of this what? Compound. 2-bromo, 5-methyl X3 what? Enal. So that is the name of this compound that was given to us here. We also have another structure. Basically, everything we are doing here is based on what? Structure, seeing how we can be able to what? Name this what? Structure, which is also known as a what? Nomenclature. So let's go on, right? Let's move ahead, right? Let's see how we can be able to name this one. This one is only diagram that was represented, right? We only have our diagram. So this is what we have, right? This is what we have. Right, this is what we have on the board, giving us this, branching to give us this, right? Where we have our this, going down to give us this, right? This is basically what we have. Not forgetting our functional group, which is the what? Double bond OH, right? So let me clean this, right? So let me clean this, and we have our what? OH, right? So now the question is, what is the name of this what? Compound. Should I give it as an assignment? Should I give it as an assignment? I feel like giving this as an assignment. All right, this is an assignment. This is my WhatsApp number. Make sure you chat me on WhatsApp and make sure you submit this assignment. So we have our 07062462746. My name is Basi Ejogba. Basi Ejogba. Sorry, the E is with capital. My name is as important as whatsoever. So the E is in capital. This is my WhatsApp number 07062462746. Make sure you chat me on WhatsApp and submit the name of this what compound. I already give assignment. Make sure in all my classes I try to give assignment. So that is basically what we have when it comes to the word alkanones, right? So take notes. Take notes. Because we are almost done with what the carbonyl word groups, right? Take note of these points I'm going to say now. So let me clean this now so that you focus basically on what I am going to say. So the carbonyl group is called an alkyl when it ends with a CHO. You understand? Remember that stuff that I wrote that time, that this particular compound I gave to you that end with CHO, right? And I said 2-bromo 5-methyl 5-methyl 3 anal, right? Remember when I said something like that, right? So what that means is that all carbonyl groups is called an alkyl when it ends with what? A CHO. So the moment you see a CHO, the moment you see a carbonyl group ending with a CHO, Please note that that is what an alkanal. The moment you say carbonyl group ending with CHO, please note it is what an alkanal. But if it does not end with an when the moment it does not end with what a CHO, then it is what an alkanones. Please note when it ends with CHO, it is what alkanal. But when it doesn't end with CHO, it is what an alkanose. Note also, all cyclic carbonyl compounds are called alkanones. The moment it is cyclic, it is what an alkanose. Note, all cyclic carbonyl compounds are all what? Alkanones. The moment it is cyclic, remember, the moment it is what? Cyclic, it is what? An alkanones. Please take note of these points that I am giving here. Take note of this compound that these points that I'm giving here. Note, whenever both alkanals and alkanones are combined, take note, whenever both the alkanals and the alkanones are in together, when the compound are combined, right, the parent name is being given to the alkanal first. The parent name is being given to the alkanal first and not the alkanones first. Take note, while the ketone is named as what? Substituent. Let me take it again. Whenever both the alkanal and the alkanones are combined, the parent name is being given to the alkanal first, while the ketone is named as a what? Substituent. Now the ketone is not is named as what? A substituent in the form of what? Oxo. In the form of what? OXO. That is what? Oxo. So let me show you how this looks like. So what we have here is a compound that has been given to us here. So you have our we have our CH3, right? We have our CH3, we have our CH2, right? We have our C with our O, right? We have our CH2, right? And we have our C and our O, and we have our what? H. So now the name, if you get to find out here, you get to find out that both the alkanones and the alkanals are represented in this compound. Now what this point is trying to say is that whenever they are combined like this, the parent name is being given to the alkanals, while the alkanones has been treated as what? Substituent. So simply the name of this compound is as easy as what possible. This is what? 3-oxo-pentanal. This is what? 3-oxo-pentanal. How is it 3-oxo-pentanal? Remember I said the alkanones, right, are being represented in the form of what? Oxo. So the whole of the alkanones, which is the word substituent, are simply oxo. So instead of mentioning any other name, they're simply presented as what? Oxo. That is why you are seeing oxo. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is what? Pent, right? And the parent name is what? The anal. So it's going to be what? The 3-oxo what? Pentanal. So that is simply everything you're supposed to know about the carbonyl what? Compound. So have a recap of what we have talked about when it comes to the carbonyl what? Compounds. We say they are either what? The alkanals, which is the aldehydes, or the what? Alkanones, which is the what? Ketones. We say they are called carbonyl compounds because of the presence of the carbonyl group, and when they are bounded by what? One alkyl group and one hydrogen group, it is known as the word alkanals, and when it's bounded by what? Two alkyl group, it is known as the word alkanones. And from there we talk about their characteristics, saying that what? They are sp2 hybridized. It has 3 sigma bond and 1 pi bond. They have a bond angle of 120 and they are what? Trigonal in shape. They undergo a very major type of reaction, which is not the what? Nucleophilic what? Addition what? Reaction. And we have talked about the nomenclature of the what? Alkanals and the what? Alkanones. So this is basically what we'll be doing here on YouTube, trying to see how we can be able to break organic chemistry down, breaking chemistry down. Whether you're preparing for your WAEC, whether you're preparing for your JAMB, whether you're preparing for your GC, I am always available. If you want me to take you on a private one-on-one classes, feel free to chat me up on WhatsApp on 070624624746. I take chemistry, I take physics, I take biology. We are here to equip you in order for you to pass that exam. If you love this video and you wish to continue getting videos like this, please don't forget to hit on the red subscribe button and also share this video to your friend so they can come here and get value. And until I see you in my next video, always remember that you're wonderful, always remember that you're unique, and always remember that you're perfect. And note that learning is what? A marathon. It is not of you to compare with your friend, but it's for you to enjoy the journey. I really love you. Thank you.